All right, we are going live on Facebook. All righty, I believe we are live.
Perfect.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to
Hi.
episode number 12 of the Blossoming Into You show. I'm your host, Miko Lau. And on today's episode, we have with us Michelle tuning in all the way from snowy Canada.
Yes.
And on today's show, we are going to be diving deep into talking about the link between sexual empowerment and financial wealth, even though that link is not very obvious for a lot of us. But I personally believe that there's such a massive association between these two components. So we are going to be diving deep to talk about that today. So, Michelle, with that being said, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. It's really exciting to connect with different Vita sisters. So for those of you who don't know, we're both in Miko and I are both in the sex, love, and relationship coaching certification with Layla Martin called Vita. And yeah, we're learning a lot and it's feeling really good. And yeah, I mean, we're on week 2 and it's been so transformational. So
Yeah.
I am an ex-lawyer. I have 2 law degrees and 3 university degrees, and I became a life coach 2 years ago. In January 18th was my 2-year anniversary. And then 9 months ago is when I specialized in sexual empowerment coaching. And the reason I did that actually is because I was burning out. And so I noticed that I was so in my head and I really needed to like get out of my work, hustle mode. And I was experiencing back pain for the last many years since my master's, which took 7.5 years. And so, perpetual student became an entrepreneur, led to a lot of hustle. And in entrepreneur life, you hear a lot about that. So this is an interesting story of how, okay, well, what does back pain have to do with sexual empowerment, right? And so I was like, okay, well, everyone talks about being in the flow and doing yoga and meditating. And I had been doing those things and I'm a dancer. And so it was breaking my heart that I was just sit. And then I would like sprint, kind of move really sharply in my dance classes. I mostly do hip hop, but also burlesque dancing. And I'm also a drag king. So I dress up as a male. Yeah. And I perform regularly at queer events. And so, yeah, I was like, I can't keep doing this. Like my body is telling me you're burning out. And so then I was like, how can I feel more in my body? And then I started Googling things and I'm like, you know what? In terms of sales, I can feel um, really scared and fearful and needy and graspy about money and clients and all that kind of stuff. But then I was like, where do I feel really powerful? And I was like, I feel really powerful in the bedroom. I feel sexy. I feel flirty. I feel just like powerful. And so I started Googling, like on YouTube, probably, like how to feel powerful in the bedroom, something like that. And then sex magic came up. I was like, oh my God, manifestation through sex and self pleasure, like fucking sign me up. And yeah, I don't know what your rules are about swearing. I can tone it down
It's
if you
all
want.
good.
Okay. But we're not going to be talking about explicit things like pussy. So there you go.
Yeah, full
um,
transparency, no
Totally,
filters.
totally. And so anyways, yeah, then I just I started teaching on learning about sex magic, teaching on sex magic, and I was like, wow, like being in my body, it reduces back pain, but not just that, like when I started understanding the links between sexuality and money in terms of what I call and the what I have created is Sexy Radiant Goddess Academy. So when you're in your sexual energy and when you're in your body, you it's like so much manifestation meditation tells you you're in your joy, you're in your bliss, you're in your flow. And then when you show up in your business and your relationships and your friendships, all that kind of stuff, you're just like oozing out that sexual energy, oozing out that radiance, that goddess energy, and then it ripples out. And that's when you manifest ideas, opportunities. People want to be around you, they want to embody what you're bringing to the table. And so
Mhm.
that's my simple definition and backstory of how and why it's so important to get into your body. And the more that women love their bodies and own their sexuality, the more money you can make because you were just at your highest level of operation, you know?
Michelle, my pussy is so turned on right now.
Yeah, Magic words to my ear, or magic to my ears.
Everything that you said, it's so in resonance with my journey, with what I believe in, with where I'm going on my path, and just so true. Like, I believe that is the natural state of being where we are fully like tuned in, tapped in and turned on in our bodies, and so connected to our sensuality, our senses, what gives us pleasure. Like, that is the natural state of being. It is only like growing up, we've been conditioned away from that truth. So coming back home to that, it's so powerful. And like you mentioned at the beginning, we're both doing Layla's program, and I don't know about you, but it's been so powerful for me, and I feel so drained because I've been purging a lot of things in my
Mm.
bodies, especially the most recent embodied practice that I did in module 2, where I am coming back home to my sacred sexuality expression. Like, that practice was very painful for me because I got to tune into a place where I felt so disconnected from my sexual goddess, like this being that's deserving of worship. Like, I felt like I was so disconnected from her my whole life. I felt like I pushed her away for so long, and that pain of disconnection was just like, ooh, I was feeling it all over my body. But anyways, I'm digressing. I want
Oh
to talk
no,
about.
it's all part of the conversation. It's so interesting. Like, I can't remember where I read so much and I learn so much all the time, but like identity is so important to us. I can't remember if Layla was talking about, or our book reading for the week, Come As You
Mhm.
Are. Um, who we are sacred, special, magical, sexual beings as babies, children, teenagers, adults, and our sacred spiritual sexual side. And so when we're not in alignment for that, our body tells us, either in fear, anger, disgust, discomfort, it tells us in sensations that we're not in our alignment of like who we think we are or should be. So
Yes.
it's not surprising to me that you had a body reaction. Your felt sense was telling you like, I don't like this connection. Yeah.
And this conversation, I think, is so powerful, Michelle. And I'm so glad that you're on here talking to me and having this conversation. It's because most of us, I know, because I only very recently came to this realization, just like you. I was so much in the hustle and the striving. I was the A student. I went to
Yes.
Berkeley, went to all these, did all of the intellectual things, while being totally disconnected from my body. Like, I was living up here, head and
Yeah.
above, and
Yeah.
I didn't have a relationship with my body,
Mhm.
and I feel like that's where most humanity lies right now. We're not connected to our bodies. We're not connected to our emotions, and we're living in our head. And that is not the way to live. I know, because I've been there, and you've been
Yeah.
there too, Michelle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I love learning about the neuroscience and the brain in Layla Martin's program, because then we can say like, brain, you're beautiful. Like, I love how much learning I love. I love academia. I loved that I was a student for so long. I love learning as an entrepreneur. And I want to honor the limbic, brain and the emotions, and also our primal brain that is our fight, flight, and freeze, and our survival and all that kind of stuff. And for me to drop into my body and realize how much wisdom it has is beautiful. And it's still a practice. Like, I'll be on our Zoom calls and I'm like, my head is saying, you don't have enough time to be in this practice. You need to like multitask and do other things. And Layla's thing was like, you need to be really present and take um uh give energy and hold space for the other women. And I'm like anxious over here. My head's like, you need to do. And the feminine is like, or the yin is like, you need to be in your body. And
Mhm.
when I drop in to my body, even though my safety feels like it's workaholism or feels like it's in the cortex, in the brain, in the mind, it's like it does tell me things. It's probably been telling me things. I just haven't been listening. Just like when I read Pussy, a Reclamation, I was like, oh my God, my pussy's been here this whole time and I haven't been talking to her. And she's telling me things. Or like finally ready for, me to listen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I love the term. I used to say like dropping 10 inches from your head to your heart. And I also say and like 30 inches to your pussy too.
That's the
know?
first time I've heard of that one. I love it.
You know, you can think like cortex, limbic brain, primal.
Oh, that's so good.
Right?
Oh,
I
I
never
love
thought about it
that.
like that.
Yeah, and that's so true. I'm gonna remember that and just reminding myself when I catch, throughout the day, sometimes I can go all the way up here and I can just
Yeah.
forget to drop back into the body. So one of the most magical things that I have personally discovered, Michelle, when I started coming back home to my body and how I've been going about creating that is through pole dancing. I started that back in
Yes.
December.
I love that. And I saw some of your videos briefly. Oh, I love that. Yeah, as a dancer and a burlesque dancer, like tell me about pole dancing and
Oh
how
my goodness.
you feel empowered as a sexy radiant goddess in that space.
I absolutely love it. Going into my first class, obviously, I was still feeling very uncomfortable to even
Okay.
take up space, to move my body, to
Yeah.
express myself in that like sensual, sexual way. But now it's like whenever I'm on the pole, I feel like it's my space, it's my sacred space, is where I get to
Oh,
unleash my emotions and like how we get
yes.
to spin and turn and it is just wild and free and I love it.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember. So actually, so my burlesque anniversary is coming up March 7th.
Ah.
And I remember watching burlesque dancers for years. It's very like tied to the queer community. And I was like, oh, I could never do that, blah, blah, blah. I also didn't think I would be a drag king either. And then getting into it, it's it's healing in a way if you've experienced sexual assault. It's healing in a way if you want to work on body love and body positivity, because it's you choosing whether or not you take something off, and it's you teasing and you getting cheered on in a way that feels sexy for you, and you get to embody that, right? Versus like being harassed on the street, or like, there's just so much empowerment in performance and pole dancing, burlesque, like all that kind of stuff, where we can take back our sexuality and just step into it in our bodies in an embodied
Yes.
way. I love that.
Yes. And everything you just said, it's like such a beautiful way of putting at it. Like when we're on the
Oh,
dance floor, like this is for us, it's not for the
yes.
people watching. But at the same time, when we allow others in the opportunity to witness a sexual being that is so much owning who we are as a sexual being, and like
Yeah,
I think that's a beautiful thing for people to
totally.
witness. It's so
Yeah.
captivating, and I also noticed that on those videos that I shared, those tends to get the most engagement and views. And I know because sexual power, it's
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah, and it's
So
super attractive. Like,
yeah,
people want to be around a sexually empowered woman, and sometimes they can be triggered by a sexually empowered woman. And, the invitation, of course, is to lean into that, not avoid it. I love it. I love that. One of my closest friends that I co-work with every day, she does pole dancing and she has kids and she does it out of her home and she teaches, and
mm,
it's just so, so beautiful. And her kids know all about it, and
oh,
yeah, it's I've only done one pole dancing class, but I loved it and I definitely want to go back.
oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
it's and not to mention a great workout, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm
And the
feeling sore
bruises.
everywhere. Yeah, and I love it because like I've always been a dancer as well myself. I've done things like ballet or
Oh,
just
me
very like
too, yeah.
rigid and structure. But in between when I stopped dancing, there was periods of my life where I stopped dancing and I would also keep up with my exercise routine. But all of those workouts that I would do, it felt very much the yang energy, the
Yeah,
masculine
okay.
energy. Like I would
Yeah.
do a 6 a.m. boot camp with a very
Hmm.
muscular, like buff guy. And I'm not saying that it's not a good thing, but like to me, it wasn't a space where I get to like accentuate my curves or like
Yes.
the yin energy in me, which I'm able to tap into via pole dancing and also
Yeah.
get a great workout in. So I love it.
Yeah.
It's all perfect.
Oh, I love that. And that's to bring it back to money, because I know we only have a little bit of time yet
Yes.
left. What I love to do, and I'm developing a course on sexy wealthy goddess. Yeah, sexy wealthy goddess, and it's so fun. Like based on the book Money: A Love Story, which was in our wealth consciousness reading list. I don't know if you've seen it. I loved it. I fell in love with it, and I extrapolated from it. When we put love and compassion and gentleness on our finances versus guilt, shame, avoidance, fear, we start to lean into it. And I'm telling you, like, I actually manifested, I haven't really said this publicly, but I actually manifested $145,000 um, leaning into my fears around money. And I cannot believe it. Like, yeah, it's a longer story and I don't want to be too public about it. But, anyways,
Wow.
yeah. So I was so scared to do my bookkeeping for 2 years in my business. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm so smart. I have two law degrees. However, financial forms and administrative forms, I was just like, I'm so scared. And I was kind of just chasing the next sale. And as
Mm.
soon as I dropped into my goddess energy, I started working less and making more. And I was like, what the actual F? Like that hustle mentality, I feel like it's a signal to the universe to say, I don't believe that you have my back and I have to control everything and go, go, go and do, do, do. The
Mhm.
masculine is so beautiful, the yang, the action, the structure, the rigidity, the support, the stability, all those kinds of things. And when we merge it with the feminine, beautiful things can happen. So, for example, um, I love teaching people practices about like literally, having financial freedom Fridays. And then you can literally put on a dress, tiara, dress up and have like, a wine glass or, I don't drink much. So I have like little fruits that I put in a wine glass with water and just like, how can you make sexiness infused into everyday activities is what I teach people to do the action of embodying sexy, wealthy goddess or sexy, radiant goddess. So like doing yoga in lingerie or working out in like something sexy or even though we're all working from home, like dressing up, it makes a difference in your energy, right? So how
Yeah.
can you infuse that with money? People don't want to budget, they're like bored, they like it's either boring or scary, right? And so why not dress up and like make it your date, make it a ritual, set a candle, like make it infused into that feminine flow, you know what I mean? Trying to think of what other things I like to do. When I started looking at my money from a place of love and compassion and rewriting your money story is what Kate Northrup in Money a Love Story suggests,
Mhm.
it softened everything. I had so much less guilt and shame for having debt from law school and then from having debt on my credit cards and stuff. And that's when you can lean into it. You can be like, you know what? This was part of my story, even though I did 3 degrees, 15 years of education just to quit a month later after my master's and become a life coach and an entrepreneur with like income going up and down. Getting, um, oh, I've lost my train of thought, but rewriting the story of like, wow, that brought me so much education. I loved focusing on Aboriginal law, social justice for 10 years. And I lived up in the Arctic and everything. You can see the Indigenous art behind me.
Mm.
Yeah. And that was a beautiful thing. So even looking at a divorce, maybe spend a lot of money on that, but you can rewrite your story of like, wow, that divorce, maybe it was hard financially and I grew closer to my children because of it. These are the kind of lessons that she says, talks about in Money, a Love Story. And how can we make it sexy, like daily, like make sensual eating part of your practice, like slowly enjoying like the creaminess of yogurt, the cold going down your throat, like just apply that to anything you do, literally. It's like the tantric approach, I think. We're just learning about that, so I'm new to it, but just everything can be simple and orgasmic. So money management, it doesn't have to be this boring thing. So I talk about sexy, wealthy goddess energy, right? And it
Yeah.
feels good and I feel happier and lighter instead of this heaviness of the guilt and shame and avoidance. Because I was like ostrich in the sand. I was like, oh my God, I don't know how to do my taxes as an entrepreneur. I'm going to avoid this. It didn't feel empowering. But you know what
Mhm.
does? Like dressing up sexy and like color coding my my finances and talking about how I manifested a new client and how I feel about blessings already received, i.e., my utility bills, reframing, renaming and reframing and making like having something be simple, easy, and fun. Those are my three words for the year:
Mm.
sexy, easy, and fun. And the more you can infuse into that, you can see it's like exciting rather than a budget, spreadsheet, formula. And so that's another thing I like to do with combining the sexiness with the money piece.
Michelle, implementing everything that you just shared right here, right now, I'm gonna say By far, you are the guest that makes me feel the most turned on ever listening to you
What a
talk.
compliment. Yes.
Oh my gosh, like my whole body is just like feeling there's like ripples of pleasure and like just
Yes.
rippling through my body because
Oh.
everything you are saying, it's like, hell
Oh.
yes.
Hell yes. Oh yes, you are a sexy, wealthy goddess.
Oh
Yes,
my
yes,
goodness.
yes.
I'm
Oh, I
so
love it.
resonating. Like I am personally still rebuilding my relationship with money and hearing
Yeah,
everything that
great.
you're saying, like, oh, I just got this like powerful, inspired idea that I get to from this moment forward, I get to fall in love with money. Like
Yes.
it's a
Oh my
relationship
God.
with it.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And write it a love letter. And
Mhm.
a piece of homework I got a couple of years ago is like, if money was a person, would it fuck you? Like, are you needy and graspy and you're like always complaining about it? It's not going to want to date you, court you, love you, or fuck you,
Yeah.
literally. But if you're like, let them be free, it comes back. Like, I love money. I share you with all my friends. Like, I adore you. I appreciate you. And actually, you know what I did? I went to the bank yesterday and I got $100 bill and I'm
Mhm.
putting it up on like on my dresser where it has like all my yearly goals and my daily affirmations and stuff, just as another sign of like I am financially abundant. You know what I mean? Like there's so many money practices that are really fun and spiritual and sexy also.
Yes. And Michelle, as we're wrapping up, this goes back to what we said at the very beginning. Like, I learned something recently that says the universe respond not to what we say, but it responds to who we're being and our action.
Oh yeah.
So that is so powerful because when we live from like here and above, living in our head, we can think, we can know all of these concepts about we gotta love money, we gotta have a good relationship with money, but
Mm,
if that's only like living from here and up and it's not embodied, like with our entire beingness, it's not
yeah,
gonna work. Like I know
yeah,
this from my experience. Like even I read all the books, I've done
I
all the
know.
courses, I know all of these concepts, but then it's
Yeah,
not yet like embodied into my entire like energy field. And like
yeah,
that's why the results aren't showing up. So it's so
yeah.
important to have this connection with our bodies.
Yeah, and just like what we've learned in Layla's class, you can learn something in your head, but if you still feel fear around money, that is your body's protection mechanism. That,
Mm.
like, and even me, like I made my first 10K month by working like very little. I was spending so much time with family and friends and in nature. And I honestly felt like I wasn't working at all. And clients came to me, I think that's the month, two clients came to me saying like, my gut, my spirit told me to work with you. And I was like, oh my God. And then I was like, I think it was like the 30th of the month and I was $425 away. And I did get in my masculine and I posted some stuff and I reached out to people and I made it. But I'll be honest with you, July and August, I made zero, And so like,
Oh my
staying in
goodness.
it, like you can get it, and I thought it was
Yeah.
going to be sunshine and rainbows, but you have to keep practicing and working on it, right?
Girl,
So
you're
you
speaking
can
my
do this.
language. You're speaking my
Yes,
language. I did
yeah,
the
it's
same
a,
exact thing. Yeah, last
yeah.
year I had my first 10K month and I also got it because I was playing. I just said, forget the work. I went hiking. I just
Yeah.
play. I laid on the beach. And that's when I had my 10K month. And then after that, the cash flow stopped because I went back into the fear, the
Yes,
scarcity.
me too.
So it's a process.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear. Yeah, because it's a little like nerve-wracking sharing. And sometimes it's funny, like, is it a fear of success? Because I was a bit shy to tell some people that I made a 10K month that I knew weren't
Mm,
making that or whatever. So
mhm.
I'm really happy to hear that you also experienced where like this high and then it's like a low and you're like, what the actual F? And it's an indicator that we need to continue to rebuild our relationship with money, right? And the
And
more
like
sexy we can make anything, it's just so fun and easy.
I love that the sexy, fun, and easy that
Easy.
and the way
That's
you keep it
2021,
so easy.
baby.
Yeah, and one last thing, Michelle, and just to wrap it up, if we did it before, we know we can do it again, right? If we generated a
Yes.
10K month, like it means it's possible. We
Yes.
just gotta
Actually,
get there.
my partner calls me 10K Goddess Bay, and I told him I was in a $1 million manifestation meditation yesterday, and he's like, "Oh, do I need to rename you?" I was like, "No, it's okay. We can still call me 10K Goddess Bay because I'm working on those consistent months." But nicknames, naming things, naming files. Like, so my debt repayment plan, my money sister in our program, she's like, "Why don't you call it Love Liberation Program or project or Love Liberation Plan?" Right? To make it fun and easy rather than debt repayment. It's different energy. So
Oh
yeah,
my
change the
goodness.
energy, change your being, and you'll change everything.
I love this conversation.
Me too. Thank
I
you so
love
much, Miku.
you are so fun. You are an embodiment of sexy, fun, and easy. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for allowing us
Oh,
to witness that. Like, I am
thank
feeling
you.
you. I am catching on that essence. You are so inspirational. And I just want to acknowledge you, Michelle, for everything that you have done on your journey and now
Oh,
sharing that with everyone that comes into your presence. Like, such a gift to have you, and I wish I can talk to you forever. We
oh
definitely
yes,
got to
we'll
stay
have
in touch.
more conversations too. Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
so much for having me. It was great. People can find me, Michelle Zakrison, on Facebook and at the Dancing Healer on Instagram.
Awesome. And I would potentially love to have you back. I'm thinking of doing another portion of this show where I have like an expert feature. And then I also would love to invite audience to come join us in real time to do live Q&A. So we
Yes.
may have Michelle back. Who knows? I
I
would love to
love
have you.
that. That sounds great. And I have to say that my number 12 is my favorite number. So yeah,
Ooh.
and we're episode 12.
Synchronicities.
Yes.
All right. And
Oh,
thank
thank you
you.
so much.
Yeah, and thanks for everyone as well for tuning in. Like, this is an act of self-love, as I always mention. When you dedicate time and devoting time to tune into something like this that turns you on, that gives you life, like that's a hell yes. You did it. Celebrate yourself, and I cannot wait to see you back for another episode.
Thank you so much. I'd love to come back. Thank you so much. And I should have you on my show too, on the Pleasure and
I
Prosperity
will.
show on Instagram.
I would love to. All right, everyone. See you next
Bye.
time.
Thank you.
Bye.